Hello everyone, welcome to English Intensive B3 Lesson 2. And today we're going to read a short story. It's called The Memento and it's by O. Henry, who is an American writer who lived from 1862 to 1910. The title, Memento, this means something that you keep to remember a special person, a special place, or a special event. Can you see the beginning of the word mem? That's like memory, so that'll help you remember. This story takes place at a theatre at the turn of the 20th century. This means it was around the year 1900. All those years ago, people didn't have internet, they didn't have radio, they didn't have television, and they didn't even have cinemas for entertainment. Most entertainment was live, and so people went to theatres like this. You can see the crowds of people outside. They were very popular. Sometimes there were more serious music and opera played, but very popular was the music hall, the variety shows with singing, dancing, magic, comedy, and even acrobatics. So the people in the story worked in a theatre like this. Inside the theatre, it was very spacious. The ceiling was very high because the expensive seats were high up so that the people could look down onto the stage. The more reasonably priced seats were on the ground floor. This is a photo of a theatre production in New York around the time of this story. You can see there are many actors on the stage. I have no idea what kind of performance this was, but it looks like a New York street scene. Maybe it was some kind of comedy show, musical. In this picture, you can see on the right a kind of swing, rather different to the swing that you played on as a child, I'm sure. This was a theatre performance act. The young woman would swing on the swing, but it would be very high up. It was suspended from the ceiling of the theatre, and she would swing over the heads of the audience below on the ground floor of the theatre. This was very exciting at the time, and even more exciting because, as you can see, she wasn't wearing many clothes. Now, at the turn of the century, it was very unusual for a young woman to be seen with her bare legs and her bare arms, because women's dresses and skirts were usually right down to the ground, and their arms were covered by sleeves down to their wrists. So she had a very exciting performance. Around her leg, she used to wear a garter. This is a blue garter. In the story, it's a yellow garter. She probably wore two garters because the garter was there to hold up her stockings. Now, in 1900, stockings were made of silk. They weren't like pantyhose that we wear today that stays up by itself. So they used to wear this rubber band, a decorated band, around their leg to hold up their silk stockings. In the story, at the climax of this young woman's act, she would drop one of her garters down to the audience below, and it was a competition among the men in the audience to see who could catch one of these special yellow garters. So in the story, there are three main characters. The young woman who swang on the swing, and her name was Miss Rosalie Ray. Also, she was called in the story Lee. Lee is a nickname. It's short for Rosalie. Rosalie Lee. But this is her stage name. It's not her real name. It's the name that she used as a performer. Her real name, we find out in the story, is Ida. Now, her best friend is the woman on the right. Well, these aren't the real women in the story because the story is fiction, but these photos are to give you an idea of what the young women looked like, their hairstyles, their dress. And this young woman, the best friend of Lee, is called Miss Lynette Darmond. And she has a nickname. She's also called Lynn. I think Lynette Darmond was probably her stage name, not her real name too. The third person in the story is, as you can see from his clothes, a man of the church. His name is the Reverend Arthur Lyle. And he's called Reverend because his church was probably not a Catholic church. If he were a Catholic priest, he would be called Father Arthur Lyle. So probably he was a Protestant priest. And so he was called the Reverend Arthur Lyle. But he was, as I said, a man of the church. So I hope you enjoy the story. Don't forget to do the follow-up activity afterwards.